I watched that entire thing the whole night. What is happening, y'all? It's your boy Ben from the Comic Book Lab. We are going to review the Wonder Man show. Here we go. So, Wonder Man. This is going to be a spoiler review, all right? Now, the reason why it's going to be a spoiler review is because I am not good at reviewing movies without sharing little details about it, okay? I'm working on that. I binge watched the entire thing. I am not a binge watch. I do not like binge watching. I believe it kills brain cells. Okay, I believe some brain cells were killed last night because I watched the first episode and thought that was it. And then the second episode came in, I thought that was it. I watched that entire thing the whole night. Great show. I've been very critical of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially the terrible writing lately. Spoiler review for whoever has not seen this show. And if you haven't seen the show and you don't care, welcome to my channel. Wonder Man follows the story of a guy named Simon Williams. There's something about him that only his close-knit family knows and himself. Since he was a child, he always wanted to be an actor. He watched a movie called Wonder Man when he was a kid in the theaters with his dad, and ever since that moment, he just was fascinated with that character. And he's trying to get roles, but there's something about him that's a little bit off. He's a little too arrogant. He's a little too self-centered. You know, his girl, obviously, him and his girlfriend had problems, so they separated. As a kid, apparently there was this big explosion in the kitchen or whatever, and it didn't burn him or leave any marks. And so that was his first incident, and that's the premise of the show. Is like every one of his close family members knows about that happened to him, but they don't know exact details except for his mom and his brother. Something about his temper where he just can't seem to control himself. It's like there's certain moments where he gets a little frustrated, and then his eyes start getting red, and then, you know, you start seeing colors going on his hands, and then explosions happen. So that's the power that he has, is apparently these explosions are coming from him. They don't really go into detail, to be honest. They didn't really explore the why, which is great. I like that. It keeps the mystery of the character. It allows you to keep asking questions. It allows you to say, hey, I can't wait to see season 2. He lands a gig in American Horror Story, which is great. And then he starts his first day shooting. He starts trying to change too many things in the script. And the writers just don't like it. The director doesn't like it. And they cut him. So now he runs into Trevor Slattery, the famous Mandarin. Trevor said he's doing auditions for a movie, and he drops the name, says, hey, it's Wonder Man. And that gives him an idea because he's saying to himself, I want to see myself become this character. I watched this movie since I was a kid. This is something I always wanted. His agent, by the way, I just want to say that actress is amazing. I loved her. I loved her cadence for the character. I loved her choices. Trevor is revealed to be an informant for the DODC, Department of Damage Control. They are onto Simon Williams. They know that he's powerful, but they just don't have proof. They don't have evidence. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't really have that connection with anybody just because they say that he is a self-centered prick. Eventually, Trevor Slattery sort of gets a soft spot for him. He eventually takes the wire off that the government gave him, and he tossed it. He's an informant because they're telling him that he didn't finish his sentence in prison. So if he doesn't do this job, he's going to go back to prison. Gives him a motive, an incentive to do that. But then he meets Simon's family. And then what I did like about it was they explored the story of Simon, you know, with his background, his Haitian background. I enjoy, my family is from Haiti, so I enjoyed that part. Only thing that bothered me about that was the mother. She had a terrible Haitian accent. With all due respect, that was the only thing I did not like, is that she sounded like a Nigerian, which she is. She's actually a British Nigerian actress. But when you're playing a Haitian role, you gotta really, really get with Haitians and learn their accents, because that accent was confusing me. At first, I thought she was African, and then I was like, is she African or is she, what's going on? Great storyline. His brother, for some reason, has an obsession with his failing career. I don't know why. His brother might be insecure or whatever. They don't really explore that much. Then he has an accident in front of Trevor Slattery, and Trevor feels bad, so he throws away the wire. Man, then there's these like side situations going on where somebody sees Simon Williams using his power on these gangsters who were trying to kill Trevor or whatever because of his past. So then they had to track down this kid who had the film and the footage, and he said, I'll only delete the footage if you help me get my motorcycle back. And then they go back to this place where these guys are making, you know, candy out of drugs, chamoy, whatever, and then the gangsters come in and the cops come in. And anyway, to be honest with you, I didn't really spend too much time focusing on that just because the purpose of that side storyline was to cause conflict. And he's been trying to film this self audition tape, and just stuff just keeps happening over and over again. They do the audition, they send the tape, they love him, so they do a callback. Now Trevor and Simon are at the director's, I forgot his name, his palace or his house or whatnot. But eventually Simon and Trevor get the job, Wonder Man and Barnaby, and they start shooting. Then there's this woman reporter. She starts connecting with all these different people, and Simon's afraid that she might connect with his family and then his ex-girlfriend, and they might tell the details about him that he was hoping that they didn't, maybe you shouldn't know those things. But yeah, apparently everybody tells her great things about him, but then she starts asking Trevor questions, asking him questions about the government, getting him and detaining him and then giving him a deal and da-da-da. And then Simon is like, what? What you mean you have a deal? You have a deal? And Trevor's like, I don't know what she's talking about. They're sitting in a restaurant, and so nobody else is in the restaurant, so it creates that scene where you get buildup and anticipation. And then they go back to his trailer, and then he finally reveals, hey, I've been an informant. This is something that I have been doing. I don't want to do it, but I had to. I didn't tell them anything. Simon is like, you're a traitor. You do not deserve to be my friend. So he walks out, and that's it. After Simon finds out that he betrayed him, then he goes into the set, which is kind of stupid, and just unloads his power and explosions. This is the set of the movie, and he blew everything up. Department of Damage Control rolls in and then makes it look like they're gonna go grab Simon, but then Trevor calls him and says, hey man, I messed up. I had all these opportunities in life. You only have this one shot. I'm gonna let you have this one. I'm gonna take the fall. So he posts a video as the Mandarin claiming to be the responsible for bombing the set. The world thinks he's a criminal again, and the guy from the Department of Damage Control does not believe him. He says he believes that he's covering for him. Later, Simon does a great job as Wonder Man. He becomes successful. His family's happy for him. He's met with some guy. Apparently, he wants to learn how his family is and what it's like to live as Clint, whatever his name is. He wants to create a movie, and he wants to live with them and just kind of observe. But really, the real reason why he's doing that is so he can get into Department of Damage Control and break Trevor Slattery out of jail, okay, which he does very successfully. And you could see his power just, and he can fly. He can fly. I mean, come on. And that's how they ended the show. I didn't think it was going to be a lot of action. I think they were just trying to set the premise for his character and give you good development, which I enjoyed. I think the development was great. I think everything was put in place perfectly. Nothing was rushed. It didn't feel rushed. Everything felt on time. The only episode that I was very confused about was a doorman episode, but it was a genius episode. I mean, apparently this guy was just like a bouncer, and then Josh Gad becomes friends with him and then learns of his power because they get stuck in the club, and then he learns that he has a power to just, people can go walk through him. And so after rescuing all those people, Josh Gad is like, hey, you want to be in a movie? And so he becomes famous. Eventually, it just runs out. People get tired of him. He's got superpowers, and he's in movies doing superpower things, just walking through walls and stuff. But people are tired of that. He starts going broke. And then next thing you know, Josh Gad runs into him in a scene and then just never comes out. And they're like, oh my God, did Josh Gad get stuck inside his body? I mean, the whole thing was funny to me. I was like, bro, they really made this guy disappear inside the man's body. And that was the end of Doorman. I thought Doorman was going to come back at some point, and, when he went to the DODC, he would have met Doorman, but that didn't happen. They mentioned Doorman, and they said that there's apparently a Doorman clause in movies in Hollywood that if you're a superhero, you cannot be in a movie because of Doorman. So he ruined it for everybody else. To me, 8 out of 10. That show was 8 out of 10. The only thing, like I said, the only thing that I had a problem with was the Haitian accents. Like, they really did not nail that. Only certain characters did, but man, the ones who I had a problem with sounded African. They sounded like it was pure Nigerian accents. And me, as having a Haitian background, I know what a Haitian accent sounds like. They sounded all African. Overall, they didn't do a good job really bringing that Haitian accent in. To anybody who complained about the race swap for Wonder Man, I didn't really care. Only because I didn't really read much of Wonder Man in the comics, so that's just a biased point of view, but I think the show was written great. Anyway, Wonder Man, what do you think? Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think about it. If you agree with my rating was 8 out of 10. And if it wasn't, well, too bad.